Karla Fitz is joining me today on my podcast, and I am so glad that you're here today. Karla is a life coach for women, and our topic this month for in my community and in my patrons community is rest. And so Karla wanted to speak to me about the topic of rest, and I'm so looking forward to this conversation. Welcome, Karla.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Yes, rest is one of my favorite topics.
Yay. Okay,
Awesome.
so tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Karla Fitz. I'm a wife and a mom of two little girls and then a boy on the way. And I'm the Catholic life coach. I help Catholic women create a more fulfilling life where they feel like their dreams, goals, and desires feel aligned to what God is calling them to be. But in
Mm.
that journey, it's all about letting go of doubt, judgment, and fears and really living their dreams in a way that feels peaceful and joyful and just abundant.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, it's really
Sign
fun.
me
It's
up.
really fun.
That sounds great. Yeah. So I put out a couple of topics that I was talking about for the rest of this year, and you said I want to talk about rest. So I'm curious, why did you, what makes you want to talk about that? You said you love talking about it. Why do you enjoy talking about it?
I do because it is something that I struggled with for a very, very long time, especially when I became a mom. I think I let go of the calmness of life that
Hmm.
I had. I think when I was single, I was just a lot more chill and did things as it came and allowed God to have my time. And then when I got married, then became a mom, and then I added a business to it, I went nuts. I was just like, I was
Mm.
so busy that I didn't have time to enjoy life. That's why for me, when I help my clients, one of the biggest P's is finding peace because we let
Yes.
go of that peace that God gives us at all times because we want to be busy. And for me, it was like, I believe fully that the more busy I was, the more productive I was, and the more successful I would be. That was my
Mm.
thought. I like to call it thought errors, like a mistake that we believe.
Yes. So you defined success by productivity.
Yes,
Yes.
and time, how much time I spend on the business or how much time I spend with my children. It's just constantly wanting to do more. And I
Mm.
think for me it was a society thing where you have to do all the things. If you're gonna be a business owner, then you need to be more busy. And what I had to learn, and God is so good at teaching us the things we need to learn, is that you can create while resting. In fact, we create better while resting.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, and then that was my experience. And then I got pregnant this year. And so God really took me for a loop of, okay, you are going to finish learning that you don't need to go insane and not rest in order
Yeah.
to create value and all of it. Yes, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, I've had, it's funny, I had prayed about these topics for like these monthly topics in December. And I just felt like God gave me different, I just pray, what about January? What should we talk about in January? And we talked about expectations and what should we talk about in February? We talked about marriage. And so I just created, some journaling prompts or some blog posts or a Facebook post, a Facebook, or I mean, sorry, a podcast recording with somebody talking about these different topics. And for August, I felt like rest was the topic that he gave me. And I was like, okay. But then in the end of May, I got bronchitis. And I had
Mhm.
bronchitis all of June. And for at least the first half of July, I still might cough on this recording, but that's okay. But yeah, it was like God was like, well, let me just prepare you for August when we're going to talk about
Yes.
rest because I had so many things I wanted to do this summer. Um, Either podcast recordings or even I'm looking at my garden out the window, which is just full of weeds. Someone just said, "Oh, what are you growing in your garden?" I was like, "Weeds." Like just it was like June or May, by the time we can garden in New Hampshire, it has to be like the end of May or June.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would go outside and just burst into coughing fits if I like put forth any.
Yeah.
I was trying to weed the gardens and get them ready to plant and like I don't know if it was the pollen or what, but I just couldn't do it. And I was like, can't do a garden this year. I kept thinking I'll do it when when I stop coughing. And then like that just didn't happen, So it was just
Yes.
like, okay, I guess I need to give up on the idea. Like I just love like growing my own food and providing for our family in that
Yeah.
way, And it was sort of like, God, especially in this like um financial a situation that we're in, it was like, oh, we'll grow a lot of our own vegetables and it'll be a way that we can provide for lower costs. But God,
Yeah,
you
I
have
think
to
that's
provide that for us, if
yeah.
that's what it was this summer. And yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it is I think a lot of the time we see the circumstances that we find ourselves in as a horrible thing that is happening to us, but we have an opportunity to really see it as I'm lacking words. As
Yeah.
an
See it as an
opportunity from
opportunity.
God
Yeah. Yeah.
because he is teaching us something. And I think anytime that we find ourselves in a difficult situation, I love asking myself, what is God teaching me in this moment?
Yes.
Because for me, in January, I found out I was pregnant the very first week of January.
Mm.
And I had a trip planned to California for a retreat. And I did that and I came back. And then I was in the like on the couch
Mhm.
24/7 for the
Mm.
next 3 months. Like it was
Oh,
no joke. I was
yeah.
so
So,
sick.
so tired and sick. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just so sick, and I could not function. Because we homeschool, and I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
homeschool. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do much. The only thing that I showed up for was mass and
Mm-hmm.
my podcast. That was it. Like I had nothing else that I could do. And I remember fighting so much because one of the reasons why we don't rest enough and don't allow ourselves to rest enough is because we have a lot of judgment in what we should and should not be doing.
Yes, that word just gets you right. Should. It's
Yes.
just such a huge
It's a
word
big
in our
word and it
minds, in
makes
our
a lot of pain.
minds. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I found myself on the couch always thinking, I should be cooking. I should be cleaning. I should be taking care of my children. I should be doing this business. And I
Yep.
just had so much shame growing inside of me
Mm-hmm.
because I had to rest. And then I
Mm-hmm.
remember having a moment where God was like, I'm taking care of you. It is not your job to provide. It is my job to provide.
Right.
I will provide you with the time. I will provide you with the healing. Right now, all you can do is attach yourself to me. And that is exactly what I had to do. Is just
Yeah.
roll in a ball and be like, God,
Yeah.
be with me. So I
Right.
can't do this. But is that relying in him that frees us to be the women that God wants us to be? We don't have to do this on our own. And resting was instituted, is that the word, for by
Mm-hmm.
him.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
rested, not because he needed it, but because he
No.
wanted us to learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. In Genesis. I love that. Yeah. Just like on the seventh day he rested. Like why would he do that?
Yeah.
He wasn't tired from all that
Yeah.
creating. But yeah, it was just to be an example to us and show us what
Mhm.
that looks like. I did all this. Now I'm gonna step
Yeah.
back and take a break. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so you're right. Like we as women, you know, we are supposed to also keep a lovely home. And I think sometimes when you like will look at social media, you think about what your house should look like and your food should look like, and like all of these,
Yeah.
it just feels so much pressure to, just towards perfection, just pressure to perfection. And that striving is exhausting, right?
It
And
is.
so when you have a situation like bronchitis or early pregnancy, when you're just so tired and sick, and you see your house devolving, like just
Yes.
entropy is happening and like all the toys are all the places and you can't get to them. It feels shameful. It feels like
Yeah.
this is my job as the mom. I know when I was pregnant too with my twins, I was on bed rest for 8 weeks. Um, and I had to either just let it go or sometimes people came over and like helped me or ask for help is like so humbling too, right?
Mhm.
Like
It
I
is.
need to rest and could you come and like vacuum my floors because they haven't been done. I couldn't wait. I remember after I delivered and could move again, I couldn't wait to vacuum. Like of all the things, it was the funniest thing to just be like, I'm so looking forward to just doing it myself because I saw like strangers coming in and vacuuming. But
Yeah.
that need to rest really requires us to lean on God or lean on other people. If it's
Yeah.
a sickness or a pregnancy or something like that, and we have to ask someone to help us, like I think we're resistant to that.
Yeah.
And we feel so much shame if the house isn't not in the condition that we think it should be. There's that should
Yeah.
word again, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So why do you think, well, first of all, I was thinking about rest and recognizing as I was thinking about Bible verses associated with rest, that there are many different forms of rest.
Yes.
Right. So I was thinking just like there's physical rest, but there's just, you talked about peace, which in
Yeah.
my mind equates with rest. Like just,
Yeah.
I feel
100%.
calm, like my feelings, my emotions, and my mental state is at rest.
Yes.
So why don't you talk a little bit about, what are different types of rest and what do those look
Oh,
like?
I, I think this is beautiful because when I was prepping to come to talk to you, I thought it's just rest is more than just time. And
Yeah.
it's so funny. I'm like, God is connecting us. Because what I wrote down was to me, there are three main ones. And one is the is a rest in time where you just simplify the amount of things that you're choosing to do.
Yes.
That one is like a key and everything else. Because one of my things is like simplifying my home where I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have so much that would keep me busy
Yeah.
because I think that's what we do unconsciously. We fill our time and our home with things to do to keep ourselves busy.
Mm.
And when we declutter those two things, it frees so much for us. The
Yes, you're not
second one
spending
was,
the time on
yeah,
upkeep or putting stuff away or like, yeah, managing all your things. Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
That's true.
What I do remember
Things.
one of the things that my husband and I decided to do, we went on a trip to Italy a year ago, and we stayed for 2 weeks in the smallest apartment, the four of us, and we had just the bare minimum. And I remember how much freedom I felt in that home. And so we came home and kept only four plates, four bowls, because there's only four of us. And I'm like, this is what we're gonna do, so we don't have to do dishes as often.
Yeah, yeah.
And it just creates rest in and of itself, just that
Yes.
simplicity of life and time. But the other one for me is mind, because not only do we busy ourselves with our time and our stuff, but it's also in our mind. The worry that we spend, all the time that we spend worrying, all the time that we spend overthinking or judging ourselves,
Yeah.
that is a beautiful space to create rest, is in your own mind and
Yeah.
how what you're believing about your life. And then the third thing is our soul,
Yep.
because to me it's like one of the biggest things that has changed my life, spending time in holy hour with Jesus, just quiet
Mm.
time. I remember for the longest time I believed that if I left my girls for an hour to go for a walk or to go to holy hour, it was shameful. It's like, no, I should not leave my children. But I had to let go of a lot of those beliefs because I wasn't functioning. If you
Yeah.
don't allow yourself to take care of those three things, your time, your mind, your soul, you are not, you don't show up in a way that you want to show up. At least for me, it was like that. I was
Yeah, it's
cranky, I
the
was
complete
frustrated, short
opposite.
tempered.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the opposite result. Like we think we should be with them because that's what a good mom does, but then we don't show up as a good mom. Like we
Yeah.
show up irritable and we haven't like filled our cup, right? Like we
Yeah.
haven't we don't have anything to give them because we haven't given it to ourselves, which
Yes.
sounds so selfish when you're a new mom or you just,
Yeah.
like you just feel like I can't take that time for myself. Like I want to just pour into my kids, but you need something to pour.
Yeah.
You don't have it when you don't take that time. Yep, learn
Yeah.
that one the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. Same.
Yes.
No, no judgment.
No
Same.
judgment. Yeah.
But yeah, because and then he says that too is, love your neighbors the way you love yourself. Like if you're not showing that kindness to yourself, you cannot show it to someone else.
Yeah. The understood part is that you're already loving yourself, right? Like
Yes.
it's, yeah. Yeah. That's the
Yeah.
given. Yep.
Yeah. And I think I had to make peace with what kind of example I wanted to set for my girls, because I
Yes.
have two girls. And I'm like, I don't want them to grow up seeing their mom burnt out all the time. I don't want them to
Yes.
see their mom never taking time, never spending time with Jesus. Like my girls have this saying now that I go on dates. They tell my husband that mommy's going on a date, daddy. And Jeremy's like, oh, with who? And the girls are like, she's going on a date with Jesus. And he's like, cool.
Oh,
Like
I
it's just,
love that. Yeah.
yeah, but it is something. I think what's coming up for me too. I have a 4 word. thing that I always repeat, and it is what God wants, but I feel like God wants us to know and trust is to have present in our life is trust, surrender, believe, receive.
Mm,
Because I think in those four words, there's a lot of healing in trusting what it is He
yes.
wants us to do, in surrendering it all to Him, all our dreams and desires, and then believing that He's going to be there to provide, to do everything. And then the idea of receiving, I think, is a tricky one for a lot of us, especially
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to
Me.
rest.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like to be the giver,
Yes.
right?
Same.
Yeah.
I'm like, what
Yeah.
can I do for you? I just went to
Yes.
meet my neighbors yesterday. Example,
Yes.
like this, it proves
Yep.
it. I'm 8.5 months pregnant. I'm going to the neighbors and I go, if you need a babysitter, let me know.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
I'm like, I can't
Yeah.
babysit right now.
Yeah. I can't really move at all, but like I'll totally
But I
be.
would totally do it. I would totally do it.
Give me like another year.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's funny
Oh
because,
my
yeah, we
gosh.
love to
Yes.
give, but receiving is so difficult.
Yes, yes, especially if we have that people pleasing tendency,
Uh-huh.
right? That just default, like it comes out of our mouth before we even think, do I even, like you, do I even have this to give to them? Like, could I even babysit their kids right now? I don't even have it to give, but like, what do you need? I can help you
Yeah, I'll
anyway.
do
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
Yeah. But I think we
Yes.
need to offer that to ourselves too. Like to
Yes.
allow ourselves to receive love and help. My mom came yesterday to help me fold clothes because that's the thing that I can't do. I can't sit on the bed and
Mm,
fold.
yeah.
This thing almost uncomfortable thing right now.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm like, I love it and I'm so grateful for it. And learning
Yeah.
to really receive without judgment is so freeing.
Without judging yourself that you're
Yes.
receiving. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I was even thinking as you were saying those, we can rest physically, but what I pictured was laying on our recliner and scrolling my phone, where I'm
Yes.
like resting, but I'm not resting, right?
Correct.
Like it's just the, the dopamine or the activity or whatever's
Yeah.
happening on my phone is not truly like my body might be sitting there, but I'm not actually resting. So what do you do when people are like, I'm resting, I just, I'm
Yes.
resting, I do this is what I do. How do you, how do you rest if you ask someone that and they're like, well, I sit on my phone or I do, like that's not
Yeah. Well,
truly
I think
rest.
yeah, I think a beautiful question to ask yourself is do you feel refueled
Yeah,
after that
that's it.
rest time?
No, I don't.
Because yeah,
Right.
because we don't. We just our brains just gets my husband calls it the mushy brain effect. Like
Yes.
our brains just fry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, when we think we're resting, like for me, it's like, oh, if I just lay in my bed and the same a squirrel, can't
Scroll.
say that.
Yeah. Scroll.
Squirrel
Yeah.
accent kicked in hard.
I hope there's no
But
squirrels in your bed. You're right.
I know. No, but yeah, if that's what you spend your time doing, you're not really resting your mind. This is why in my
That's
thought,
right.
I was like, times, not just resting your body, but it's
Right.
truly resting in Him. Where it's
Right.
just like you spend quiet time. For me, my favorite thing to do is when I first wake up in the morning, I get my girls ready because I no longer can wake up at 5 in the morning. But so
Mhm.
and again, the other thing before I forget is allow yourself to have seasons. Your life will change and your way of resting will change with them.
Yes.
And
Yes.
right now it's like I don't give up my half hour of prayer time just in quiet time on the couch by the front window because my tree's really pretty outside and like something that really fills your soul
Mm-hmm.
because you will notice a big difference on the kind of rest you are doing because you will feel so like refreshed and ready to go
Yes.
when you truly
Yes.
rest
Yep.
and allow yourself to disconnect because I think especially when it comes to business we tend to believe that we have to be in everything at every minute of the day
Mm-hmm.
and that's not true. We
It's not.
can't show up. It's the same thing. You cannot give to your people the same way if you don't take care of yourself.
Yep. Yep.
And sometimes rest
Absolutely.
for me is walking. I missed that, by the way. I can't do that right now.
Yeah, not right now, but soon enough. Yes, you're
Yes.
right. Yes, it
Yeah.
is. It doesn't seem restful because you're not
Yeah.
like relaxing or sitting, but it recharges you because it's just like you're in a different space. You're not looking for me. It's like I'm not looking at all the things I have to do in my house, right? I'm just
Mhm.
outside in nature. Fresh air
Yes.
feels good. Like moving my body feels good in that gentle way. Like, and then it's just quiet.
Yeah.
Usually, where I live it is, because we live in a really rural area.
Yeah.
So yeah, like walk down to the lake, just listen to the loons or something, like it's
Yeah.
just walk back. It really does recharge, and it doesn't seem like physical rest, but it is still, you're right.
Yeah.
That
Well, that's
question
the
to
irony.
ask yourself, does it recharge you? Yes,
Yes.
that does.
Because I think
Yep.
that's the irony. I think we have this belief. I just talked to a friend where the idea of self-care and resting is like a bubble bath with like
That's what I
tea.
was thinking, like a spa day or a
Yeah.
bubble bath. Yep.
For me, that's not rest. So
No.
everybody's gonna look for everybody's gonna look different. To me, that's so
Yes.
much work to like get
Yeah.
the bath ready.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that doesn't sound enjoyable to me.
Yes.
Whereas
Yes.
like my sister, that's her thing. I'm like, let me do a bath and I can sit there for hours if I could. But
Yes.
it depends on the person. So I think we need to allow ourselves to create, again, connect with what God is calling you to do and how he's wanting you to show up. And then
Yes. Oh, I think you froze for a bit. Hold on. Mm.
you got
Hold
frozen.
on 1 second. I know. Oh yeah. Okay. Go ahead. You froze too. So
Okay,
you
you're
said
back.
connect with God, and then you were gonna say create, but you got stuck right there. Create.
Okay. No, yeah, just connect with God and allow him to tell you how he wants you to show up in this particular time in your life
Yes.
to then create that rest that you desire. Like, what does it look like?
Yeah. Yeah. Or even ask him, like, Lord, where do I need to rest right now?
Mhm.
Like what areas, what are some plates that I'm spinning that I can put down, right? And what things do you want me to
Yes.
trust you with? And I think that just recognizing him as the source of our rest, right? And the one who says, like, if you're tired, if you're weary, if you're heavy burdened, just come to me and I'll give you rest,
Yes.
like
Yes.
just sometimes we look to so many other things to give us rest, or we think we know what it means, but ultimately it comes from trusting him, right? It
Yeah.
comes from either giving him something that we're like, there's a verse I was just looking this morning. It's um Psalm 127, 2, it says, in vain you rise up and stay up late. I'm sorry, you rise up early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those he loves. And it was just like, like, where am I striving to like provide, like the garden or whatever, right? Like just
Yeah.
provide for myself. Like it's all on me. I have to do this,
Yes.
this is the only way that I can support my family, or I can, and there is obviously God created us to work. It wasn't the punishment in the garden. Like Adam and Eve were created to work in the garden
Yeah.
before the fall. So
Yeah.
that's what he created us for. That's what makes us feel fulfilled, being able to work and appreciate the 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 result of our work. But the reason that we're taught in our Catholic faith that Sunday and Holy Day we should abstain from any, what's the word for it? Unnecessary servile work.
Mm.
That's what we're supposed to do. And when you think about servile work, it's like it doesn't mean that you can't like make dinner, which I would love if, if it meant that. We do try to keep it easy dinners on Sundays, but like it doesn't mean that you can't make dinner or clean up after dinner or something like that, right? Um, my kids tend to think that's what it means, but it really just means like, if you're doing something to like further yourself in for the rest of the week. It's like like a God, I trust you that you are going to help me to get done this week what needs to be done while resting today, taking this day to rest,
Yes.
right? And putting that into his hands and just saying, if the lawn needs mowing, if I, have to send out an email for a newsletter email, or, I mean, there are some, but it's like I have to question myself on my purposes. Like, am I doing this so that I'm ahead in the week,
Yes.
right? Like, or am I doing this just because we need this right now today? Like, we need to eat, or I need to cook, and I need to, I
Mhm.
need to clear the dinner, clear the table so we can eat at the table. but I'm not just cleaning. I'm not like doing a deep cleaning the bathroom or something, right? But,
Yes.
or it's like that's what makes it unnecessary, right? If your child is sick in the bathroom and you need to clean the bathroom, that's necessary work,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
But if you're just like, oh, I have the day off, I'm going to do a deep clean in my bathroom. Sunday's not the day to do that.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Because it's unnecessary for that day. That's what it
Yeah.
means. And
Yes.
so that idea, it's funny, it is something that I sort of like I have put God to the test on it. I don't want to say that I did that, but I just was like, I'm going to take you at your word for this because I have a lot of stuff coming up this week. I feel like I want to get ahead today on Sunday because I have a lot of time. And I'm going to instead, I just want to trust you with that stuff
Mhm.
that like if I rest today and spend this day with my family and going to church, obviously we go to church, but like, just not doing that because it's for a different purpose. It's a purpose of trying to get myself ahead in the week. Um, if I don't do that, I trust you that you're going to give me enough time and energy and what I need to do it in the rest of the week. Oh, every time I do, I'm never, in fact, I usually end up having more than enough where I'm like, oh, and I got to do
Yeah.
this other thing too, and I'm just like,
Mhm.
you promised and I did it and there it is. Like you
Yeah.
made it happen. Yeah, it's just trust. It's just like trust me. You need the rest and you'll get the stuff done.
Yep. There's
Like
always enough
which
time. And he's always multiplying our time when we allow him to have it.
yes.
It's just like
Yes.
somehow I always laugh at myself because a year ago I was doing 4 days full of work, like just so much busyness. And now I do 2 days of work and somehow I get
Yeah.
more done.
Isn't that
And I'm just
interesting?
like,
Yes.
how does that work? Because we
Yeah.
give it to him. We're just offering it up to him.
Yes.
And I think also it's so good for us to remember that there is a big difference between knowing of God and knowing God or like knowing Jesus. How did he live his life? Like give us the
Yes.
most beautiful example of rest. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna help these people, serve these people, pray, do my thing. And then what did he do? I'm gonna go away for a few days
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
with God. Like he
Yeah,
needed
there's
that
even a
rest.
verse in Mark. It's like he and the disciples were like ministering to so many people, and he was like, "Come away with me. Let's have some food and get some rest." Like there were so many people that needed them. Which, as a mom of six, I feel like so many people need me all the time. I'm just like, I can't take a break. Like I can't take a rest. Everybody needs something from me. But like he knew like okay we have to do this so that we can meet their needs, right?
Yeah.
Like we've been meeting
Yeah.
their needs and we need to take a break so that we can meet more needs. It was
Yeah.
just like we need food, we need rest, come with me. And it was like it wasn't just you guys go away, it was come with me, which reminds me that like I need to go to him for the rest,
Yeah.
when I feel overwhelmed. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard I think it was Mother Teresa that it was when her ministry started growing a lot and she was just like, oh, you shouldn't do your holy hours so often because you need to show up for the people. And she's like, okay. So she started doing I think 3 hours daily. Like she just added more holy
But
hours.
she was like, okay, I'll do more of them. Yes.
Yes, because that's exactly what it is. We need more of him, especially when we're serving so many people, like our kids. Because
Yeah.
I only have two. I have a 7 and a 4-year-old,
Yeah, but they're
and
needy. I
they
mean, they
are
need you all
needy.
the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's so funny because last night I had a call. I was coaching, and then my 4-year-old came in here and she was bawling. And she's like, "Mom, I just really want you." And I'm like, "My love, you've been with me all day. Like, how is that even possible?"
Yes.
But but in that moment, it's like it's just reminding them of mom needs an hour. Like I'm gonna be right down. It's not a big
Yes.
deal. You guys are and reminding them that they need to rest too.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is
Yes.
your time to rest. Go have some quiet time.
Yep. Yep. Oh, that's so good. So good to share with them. So what tips do you have for any women who might be struggling to find rest or just feeling like they're too busy and they can't possibly take a break or have a rest? Like, do you have any practical pointers or like ways that they could fit rest into their day or their week so that they feel that refreshment that you were we
Yeah.
use to define rest?
Yeah. I think okay, so the first thing that's popping in my head is actually an exercise that I like to do with my clients and is look at your day-to-day life right now and ask yourself if this is how you want to continue living. Is this feeling fulfilled? Is this something, or look at your schedule as well and ask yourself, is this something that is helping me grow into the person that God is asking me to be. And
Mhm.
then if not, then create a plan for yourself of like, okay, what would be beneficial for me? What is God calling me to do? And then, like, the other thing that I would totally encourage you all to do is to take away for a second the judgment. Like, if no one was watching you, nobody had an opinion, how
Mm.
would you live your life? How would God ask you to live your life if no one else could see it?
Yes.
Because I think a
Wow.
lot of the time what we do is we create this life, and this is why I'm like, it's what the reason why I'm so passionate about helping women create a fulfilling life is because we tend to create a life that is not aligned with us or with God. It's like, oh, we just do all the things that
Like people say we should
society is
do.
asking. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have never imagined that I would homeschool ever, because I was a teacher prior to becoming a
Mhm,
coach.
me too. And I homeschool too. Isn't that funny? Yeah.
That's so funny. That's amazing. I didn't realize
Yeah.
you were homeschooling.
Yes.
Amazing. Yeah. And that's the thing is, when you start questioning yourself, is this something that I really want for myself and for my family? I had to give school up because I was so frustrated at the beginning of
Mm.
the day where it's like, let's go. And that's what I was teaching my girls, to be in a rush all of the time.
Mm.
And we're never good enough. We're never early enough. We're never ready enough. There was
Yes.
so much of that that I was like, this is not serving me or my family.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
to me, it's like, and that's the same when it comes to the business. It's like, what kind of life do I want to create for myself that aligns with him? Because if he's not in the center, we just can't sustain anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't
And
have
that
to do it
verse is
alone.
coming to mind that says, you will keep in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you, right? Like fixed on you. And
Mhm.
so it's just like when I think when I remember like early in my motherhood, was I pregnant with my third? I had at least two children, and I think I was pregnant with my third, although he might have been an infant. We were going on a family vacation. I'm just thinking about you're getting out the door to school, and I was a crazy person. And it's funny because when I was growing up and we were going on family vacation, my mom was a crazy person. I mean, it was like we got into the car like
Yeah.
crying, like as we were going on vacation, like let's go have fun. Everybody's crying. Like it was just
That's so funny.
so and I know as the mom, like there's like all these memes around that are like, I packed myself, I packed all the kids, I put the dog in the kennel, I did everything we need to get the house ready. My husband put his own things in his bag and was like, let's go. Like just there's so many memes that sort of talk about the balance there, of how we really, especially if you're a recovering type A person like I am, we really like think about all the things, and like and my husband's like, if we don't have it, we'll just get it there. Like they have stores,
This is why
like,
God gives us our husband the way they are.
like, oh yeah, I guess that's true. But I think like I need to have thought of every contingency. Like, what if it's cold? What if it's hot? What if it's this? What if it's that? Right. So, and like I get why my mom had a hard time
Yeah.
because there's a lot to think about, right?
Yeah.
But um I recognize myself doing it. I can picture actually right now the scene. We are in our house. The suitcases are kind and everything, and it's the pack and play and the stuffies and all the things, like the accoutrements too, are all lined up in the hallway, like kind of ready to go out to the car. Like when we had it ready to go, we just lined it up. And I'm like telling them to get something, that we needed, or like, why didn't you, blah, blah, blah. Um, and I just had this flash of my own childhood. It was like
Mhm.
God just was like, boop, like, remember this? And then I was like, like, it was like it punched me in the gut, and I
Yeah.
just needed to go, oh, okay. Like, hold on a minute. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Like, here I am
Yeah.
doing it to my own family. Right. And I realized that it was just this control thing
Mhm.
that I had. It was just like, I have to think of all the things. It's all on me. I have that. This is my default setting for so many things. And,
Mhm.
as I've unpacked it a little bit, I recognize that it does have to do with my childhood. Just like to avoid
Totally.
that, I had to think of all the things and make sure I did them all. So
Yes.
I was like, and now I'm teaching that to them. Like it's just like that's what
Yes.
I'm teaching them. You better figure it out and remember all the things or you're going to get in trouble. You know, it was
Yep.
just like that. And as like a kid, you're just like, ah, I forgot my, whatever. You
Yeah.
just forget, So you're right. I'm so grateful for my husband's like, we can get it there. Like they have it there, like I forgot so diapers or wipes or whatever it is, And so you're right that I think at the root of my lack of rest for so many years of my life was just the need I felt to have control, to
Yeah.
control everything.
Yeah. And I
Myself, my
think
kids, my family, my house, like what everything looks like. Da, da, da.
all of it.
It's just all of it. Yes.
Yeah. And I think we unnaturally, not unnaturally, unknowingly overcompensate for our
Mm,
experience
mm,
because we copy what our parents did.
yes.
We just copy it.
It's all we know.
It's all we know.
Yep.
Exactly. And we try to overcompensate because, and it's funny because depending on like, if you don't ever go into your mind to know what it is creating those emotions, you never know
Yes.
where it's coming from.
Yes. Yeah, because
And
under the control, it was
mhm,
fear, right?
exactly.
That's it. It's
Yes.
fear is like underneath that. It's just like a fear that if I don't get it right, what, and it probably
Mhm.
came from like, I'm going to be in trouble or I'm a bad person or I'm going to feel ashamed or whatever it is. But like, it was just this fear that like, you better think of everything
Yeah.
because if you don't, like, what? Like, I never stopped
Yeah.
to think about it, right? Like,
Yep.
what if I don't, what? Like, I'm 40 something years old, right?
And I
Like,
think,
I'm not
yeah,
going to
I
get
mean,
in trouble.
exactly. But I think
Yes.
underneath every single fear that we have, there is a fear of shame of what we will tell ourselves about ourselves
Yes. It's
from
just
what we just
us.
did.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it
It's
is,
all us doing it.
it's
Yes.
all, we create, I always say it, we create so much pain and misery in our own mind. We just, and it's
Mm-hmm.
funny because my husband and I just took our girls a couple of 3 weeks ago to Florida to their first beach trip. It was our very first trip. Not,
Mm-hmm.
I've been because I grew up in Venezuela, but
Yeah.
the girls had not seen it. And I had created this perfect idea. I just talked about this in my podcast too, where there's 3 stages of trips. We have the stage of the anticipation and the
Yep.
perfection that we create in our head.
Yep.
And then you get kicked by reality of what
Yeah.
it actually looks like.
Yes. Yes.
And then you come back and you crash. And we have
Yes.
shame in all of them. Like we're just
Yes.
like, if it doesn't
Shame.
happen the way I want it, it's not
It
going to be
has to go like
the right
this, or
trip.
else I didn't do it
Yes.
right. Yes. And the
Yes. And then
reality happens, and you're like, I must not be doing it right.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then you come back and
And
you're
then you come
exhausted.
home and you're like, it wasn't what I wanted, and I must not have done it right. And I didn't even really rest. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That
Yeah.
is vacationing with children.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
for sure.
but it's so
Yeah.
freeing
Yeah.
when
But
you're
that's so
aware.
many things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're right that I think shame is just underlies our lack of rest so
Yeah.
much. Like we should be doing something else, or like what else would we be ashamed of? Like I just feel like rest. It's funny because this year I picked in January I picked a saint of the year and a word of the
Nice.
year. You know how Jen Fulweiler
Mm-hmm.
has that like word of the year thing
Mm-hmm.
generator, and my word was fun. Now, I am
Love
a
it.
melancholic person. And my first thought was like, ew, I need a new word. I need a different word, right? Like that was the first thing I thought. It's like the whole point of it is to be like, what might God be inviting you to this year, right? But my first thought is like, oh my gosh, no, I need a different word. Like it can't be fun.
And it's
I
too
don't know
simple
how
of
to
a
have
word.
fun. Yeah. And it was like I just had this, but then because I thankfully have had some coach training and some mindset training to be like, wait a minute, put on the brakes, like don't pick a new word. Get curious about this word,
Yes.
right? Why do you have aversion to fun, the word fun?
Yeah.
And I think rest is like that. Like I have
Yes.
rest makes me go, like I'd rather work. I'd rather like, um, what's the word? Be productive. Productivity. How about if
Mm-hmm.
that's my word? But like,
I like that word
that's,
better.
yeah. I'm type A. I like to get things done. Like, but
Yeah.
I say I'm recovering in my type A-ness. I'm hoping to, not have my value be based on what I do, which is, I think, what makes me
Yes.
aversive to rest. It's just like, but if
Mm-hmm.
I rest, I didn't do anything. So, so
Yes.
I'm not worthy or lovable or valuable, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that's
100%. Everything that you're saying, it's so funny because I'm the exact same way. And then the thing that we have to remember is that our worthiness does not lie on anything else, but the fact that God gave it to us.
Yeah, which is
Like
another
that's
thing we
it.
have to trust him for and rest in
Mhm.
him about. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I
and we
think
need to
all of rest
redefine
comes
it.
back to trust. We should
Yeah,
redefine it. Yes.
rest. Yeah, it's the
Yes.
same. I had this thing of we need to redefine humility because I was defining humility in my. I'm gonna go in a short
Yeah,
rant.
no, it's okay. I just did it with fun. Yeah, go ahead. Humility
No,
too. I
but
agree. Go ahead.
yeah, because I think humility, at least for me, I have defined humility as not believing in yourself at all, like putting yourself
Yes.
down.
Like I'm a lowly worm. Like,
Yes.
yes,
My husband
yes.
likes to call it a doormat. We're just like,
Yeah.
we are not worth anything. Everybody steps over us. And I am naturally very opinionated and a bit sassy because I'm Latina. I blame it on
Yeah.
that. But but I was trying to shame myself, and that's what we do. It's like, oh no, let's just stay down here because this is what humility means. And then I remember hearing my
Mm.
priest talk about humility in the sense of humility is trusting God with your dreams and your goals, and then showing up for the people that need help
Mm.
with the gifts you have. Because if all we do is push ourselves down, we don't show up for anybody.
We don't show up. Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard it defined as being like having a right view of your ability in
Yeah.
relation to and yourself in relationship to God.
Hmm.
Like recognizing that any ability that you do have comes from him, but like having a right
Yes.
view of like you're standing with God. Like God,
Hmm.
you have good, you're and you're right. Like if we don't have that awareness of the gifts that he's given us, then we don't show up and we don't use them
Yeah.
the way he wanted us to. So humility doesn't always mean hiding away in a corner and
Yes.
being, it's like hiding it under a bushel, right? Like no
Yeah.
one
And
lights a
then,
light and hides it under a bushel, right?
yeah. Well, and he's like, I mean, he gave us those gifts. So can you imagine? To me, I think what flipped it for me is believing that, like, I'm technically believing that God's gifts that he gave me are not good enough
Yeah, yeah.
or
Well, it's
that
like
he's not good
Moses, like I
enough.
can't even talk, right? Like,
Yeah,
or that he gave them to the wrong person, or like he doesn't know what he's doing by
exactly.
giving them to me. Yeah,
Yeah. And I think the same thing needs to be done with rest. It's like we get to redefine rest because rest doesn't necessarily mean doing nothing.
right.
That is not what it means. I think when we think of rest, we have that error in our thoughts that it's like, oh, it
I just
means
have to
laying on bed
sit.
doing nothing.
Yeah,
And that
and
is
I
not
was
what it
actually
looks
just
like.
reading Farmer Boy with my kids not long ago, and they like on Sundays they sat in a chair and they either read the Bible or they just sat quietly and did nothing, nothing. And so it's like we had to have a talk about the Sabbath and rest and
Yeah, yeah.
like what's expected of it. Because my kids were like, "What is that? What we're supposed to be doing?" I was like, "Not
Yeah,
necessarily,
not
no." But
necessarily.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
need to redefine it. And I think it's just like we
Mm-hmm.
need to redefine it in a way that empowers us, and that helps us serve him better rather
Mm-hmm.
than burns us
Yeah.
and then causes
Yes.
us to not serve the same way that we could.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just thinking, yeah, but just I feel like modern society and our instant gratification and,
Mhm.
like ordering on Amazon or, like ordering groceries or like all the things that we can do right now too has, I has just changed our idea of rest too.
Yeah.
Like am I ordering groceries on Sunday when I don't know. I just it just everything has become so instant gratification that we feel like we should just be able to do what we want when we want.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and the scroll being or like Netflix or whatever it is being associated with rest. Like I
Hmm.
did rest, I did this.
Yeah.
I just watched this show or I did this thing, like so like being entertained,
Yeah. Because we
being
need that
associated
dopamine.
with
I think it's
rest.
like our bodies are
Yes.
so used to, our brains and our bodies are so used to pleasure. So we just seek as much pleasure as we can to give us that dopamine.
Yes.
And
Yes,
the thing
absolutely.
is, yeah, but it's that's why I think it's so powerful too to think about what we want for our future self because it's the only way to decide on purpose now. Where, because like for me, my
Yes.
instant gratification was food. Like I struggled so much for so many years with
Mm-hmm.
sugar. And then once I took that out of the picture, I all of a sudden was open to new things. What is it that my heart actually
Mm.
wants? And I think the same
Yeah,
thing
what was I
happens
actually
with
looking
us.
for there? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when you take that
Yeah.
away, like for me, 'cause I remember like we used to watch a lot more movies. My husband jokes with me now that it's like, do you remember the time when we used to watch movies?
Yes, I know.
Because it's like we can't sit and watch a movie anymore because I'm like, I'd rather go read a book or something else.
Yeah, and
Like,
even if the kids are in bed, like you're just tired, like we would put it
yes,
on and then just fall asleep on the couch or
yes. And
something.
then
Yes.
I remember I would always feel after the movie, I'd be like, what a waste of a 2 hours.
Yes.
It's so bad. And so it's just like we started like really checking in how we wanted to spend our time. And one
Yes.
of the things that we started picking up was prayer time with our girls at 7. Like we all hop in our bed together and we pray together. And it doesn't have to be very fancy either. We
No,
started
right.
doing we started doing the 33 days of Eucharistic glory.
Mm-hmm.
And it was beautiful because it's for kids. Oh no, you're frozen. Hold on.
Uh-oh. There you, there you go. We're good.
Aha, you're back.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. Okay,
Yeah.
what did we leave?
You were saying 33 days of Eucharistic glory was for kids, and you
Yeah.
started praying that together at 7. Yeah.
Yes. And it's that time to disconnect, not watching TV,
Yeah.
not putting anything else in our brains. Let's just disconnect as a family and
Yes.
sometimes snuggling.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
focus on the Lord. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's been one of
Because
my favorite things.
that's so beautiful. Yeah. We have dinner and then we say like a family rosary together. And I
Oh,
feel like that is just, it's just a time where no one's doing anything. We don't, because sometimes, you want to get right up and start washing dishes and do your chores and everybody
yeah.
disperse. We have teenagers too. So like dinner and then dine and dash almost like everybody's gone. Um,
I
but
love it.
yeah, like then we are like, okay, come on, we're just gonna say the rosary together and then,
Yeah.
then you can dispose. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and I think that's
it
making me
is,
think of like that judgment that's just kicked in my head because my husband and I have been wanting to do rosaries together for always because he grew up doing rosaries. But I'm like, we don't have teenagers. This is why like the awareness of your season and it's going to change
mm-hmm,
is so freeing.
mm-hmm.
Because like
Yes.
we cannot sit through a whole rosary every night
Yes. Yes. Or do it
with
like
our
a
little
decade or
ones.
something and let the kids
Yes.
play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's funny because I think Matt Fradd was talking about that. I don't know if you listened to Pints with Aquinas ever, but not that long ago, he was talking about how they envisioned, right? How we have the perfect vision of the
Yes.
family rosary. And it's where everyone's sitting down and folded hands and quiet and praying. But like the reality is like for even for us too, like we have a 5-year-old with our teenagers. She can't sit still for like a whole
Yeah.
thing, but like we're in the room together and we're quiet. Like you can play
Yes.
quietly or doodle or she likes to draw while we're doing it. But like, I'm not going to pretend that she can sit and pray 5 decades of the rosary with us. Like she just can't.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're in the room together. We're quiet. She doesn't have to participate, but and that's how we do it
Yeah.
together. And so, that should of what we perfect family rosary looks like is met with the
Mhm.
reality. And sometimes we just have to go with the reality, just accept that instead
Yeah.
of
And
fighting against it.
yeah.
We have so much stress
Yeah.
when we struggle against it. And it's like, no, just go with it. Like embrace the chaos. That's what it is, because
Well,
that's
and
your
this,
season right now.
yeah. And I think we need to give ourselves so much grace because again, you're giving like, look at how much grace you're showing your daughter with like, of course, you can't do this, but we tend to forget that we can offer that to ourselves.
For
In
ourselves.
that,
Yeah.
of course, we are not in the situation that it's not going to be perfect. It's not, and the other thing
Right.
is like, it's not supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be a progress thing where you
Yes.
just practice daily.
Yes.
I don't think we'll ever achieve this like
No.
perfect calm mom spirit. Like it's just not.
Yes.
I don't think it's possible because
Yeah.
we're
I don't
human.
even know that when I think I haven't even gotten to the place where I can pray the rosary. I can just recite the rosary. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it's so busy and the kids are always like sign languaging each other across the room. I'm like, just sit still, please. Like just it's so
Stop
distracting
moving.
but
Yes.
whatever. I just feel like I can't like really pray it, but I can we recite it together. That's what we do. We
Yes.
try. And if I get one heartfelt Hail Mary in there, I think it's okay. Like just
Yes.
yeah, it is.
100%. Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
apply that to everything in our life because it's
We
just,
really can. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So
I love
good. So good. Well, I think that's a good place for us to stop. Carla, it was
it.
so good to chat with you and meet you. Tell us where we can find you and find out about what you do.
Yeah. So you can find me in every podcast app that you have
So
as
the life
the
coach
Catholic Life
podcast,
Coach.
Catholic life coach.
Yep, it's the Catholic Life Coach podcast.
Okay.
And then on Instagram, you can find me at the Catholic Life Coach. It's the same name. And yeah, just reach out if you have questions or if you want to know more about coaching. I'm happy to chat and support all of you. Just
Yeah.
yeah, it's really fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining me. I'll put links to your podcast and your Instagram account in the show notes.
Yes, yes,
So thank
absolutely.
you
And if
so
you want to know more
much. It
about
was,
coaching, I think the other thing where you can find me is karlafitz.com. It's just my website.
oh,
But
okay.
I'm on
Yep.
Instagram all the time, just checking DMs. Not all the time, come on. You know what I mean. But
Yeah, I know
yes,
what you mean.
I'm happy to
You
help.
just sit there scrolling all day so you can
Yeah,
rest.
totally, all the time.
It's so restful. Just kidding. Okay. Well, thank you so
Yes.
much. It
Thank
was such a
you
joy
so
talking to you. God
much.
bless.